I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Another day, another very bizarre Judge Aileen Cannon ruling. It's just a matter of time before special counsel Jack Smith brings an appeal of one of Judge Cannon's orders. It's just not ripe for an appeal yet. For those wondering, why isn't Jack Smith doing it? It's just not at the point yet where she's actually made an appealable order at an interlocutory expedited level, meaning it could be done immediately. That just hasn't occurred yet. She's made incremental, really bad orders, but not one yet that's really reversible error that the 11th Circuit Court of Appeal can rule on. But Jack Smith's been filing document after document, positioning this so that Judge Aileen Cannon, when she makes the mistake and finally issues that order, he will go right to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeal, and I believe they will reverse her for the third time. Remember, in two scathing orders back in 2022, the 11th Circuit Court of Appeal overruled Judge Aileen Cannon and said that, Judge Aileen Cannon, you unlawfully asserted jurisdiction over the search warrant lawfully executed at Mar-A-Lago that you had no right to assert jurisdiction over. Two humiliating and embarrassing orders, but Judge Cannon has not learned her lesson. Here is the order just issued by Judge Aileen Cannon, paperless order granting defendant Waltine Nauta's motion for leave to file surreply on or before August 31, 2023. Defendant Nauta may file a surreply to special counsel's reply in support of motion for a Garcia hearing, signed by Judge Aileen Cannon, dated August 25th, 2023. So what does all of this mean? So here's the sequence of events that went down. Special counsel Jack Smith a few weeks ago filed his first motion for a Garcia hearing, and then recently filed a second motion for a Garcia hearing regarding a separate co-defendant of Donald Trump and a different lawyer. Done a lot of videos on Garcia hearings, but for those who are new to the MeidasTouch Network, if you didn't catch those videos, a Garcia hearing is where a prosecutor believes that there are unwaivable conflicts of interest that a criminal defense lawyer has representing maybe one defendant and a witness who may have information adverse to the defendant who the criminal defense lawyer is representing. Creates a situation where there's a potential for one client to be testifying against another client, and part of what a Garcia hearing is all about is to let the clients know in open court so that there are no issues that could overturn the verdict as a result of the incompetence of counsel. You have these Garcia hearings so that the clients can be informed about what's going on. So what's going on in this Trump case, this is the case involving Trump's willful retention of national defense information, where he stole documents and obstructed justice, keeping these documents at Mar-A-Lago. Trump's co-defendants include Waltine Nauta, his valet and personal assistant. There's another co-defendant who was brought in on the superseding indictment. That individual is Carlos de Oliveira, the head of maintenance at Mar-A-Lago. It's alleged in the superseding indictment he was involved in a conspiracy with Waltine Nauta and Donald Trump to try to destroy surveillance footage at Mar-A-Lago, and that information about that criminal conspiracy to destroy surveillance footage came from another witness by the name of Willful Taveras, identified as employee 4 in the Garcia hearing motion in the superseding indictment. And Willful Taveras is the head of IT at Mar-A-Lago, who at one point was represented by Stan Woodward. Stan Woodward is also the lawyer for Waltine Nauta. In other words, to make this brief, Stan Woodward was representing at one time one client who had incriminating information about a criminal defendant in the case in the Southern District of Florida, where Donald Trump and Waltine Nauta were charged. And so a Washington, D.C. grand jury with Chief Judge Jeb Boasberg presiding held a earlier Garcia hearing back in July of 2024. And after Yusel Taveras was informed of his rights, again, the head of IT, and was told about this potential conflict given that he was being represented by a lawyer representing one of the co-defendants in the criminal case against Donald Trump, Waltine Nauta, and this was all being paid for by Donald Trump's PAC. Yusel Taveras understood, wait a minute, I get it. Donald Trump is using his PAC money to hire lawyers for people around Donald Trump to protect Donald Trump and screw over themselves. So Yusel Taveras is like, I want an independent counsel. The court appointed an independent counsel to Yusel Taveras, a federal public defender, and then Yusel Taveras then provided special counsel Jack Smith with accurate information about the conspiracy to destroy surveillance footage, and then Yusel Taveras admitted that he had previously lied to the grand jury to try to cover up his involvement in the criminal conspiracy, and then identified Carlos de Oliveira, the maintenance worker, Waltine Nauta, and Donald Trump as being involved in this criminal conspiracy.
Let's stop cutting down trees to make toilet paper. Now, it's true, humans are cutting down tens of thousands of trees every day just to supply the American need for toilet paper. And the worst part is that when we use trees for toilet paper, it's just one use and done. It obviously can't be recycled or reused, so it just goes straight into our water system. That's why I made the switch to real paper. Real is 100% bamboo, so we're using a plant that grows fast, can be harvested and regenerated, think like the grass in your lawn, and doesn't impact the entire ecosystems of forests. Real is the best kind of eco-friendly product because it doesn't feel like you're sacrificing something to help the earth. In fact, it feels like an upgrade. It's shipped free to my door in plastic-free packaging, and I could schedule it on a subscription so that it comes exactly when I need it. My favorite thing about Real, without getting too personal, is that it's super comfortable in those sensitive areas. Real paper is available in easy, hassle-free subscriptions or for one-time purchases on their website. All orders are conveniently delivered to your door with free shipping in 100% recyclable plastic-free packaging. If you head to realpaper.com/Meidas and sign up for a subscription using my code Meidas at checkout, you'll automatically get 30% off your first order and free shipping. That's realpaper.com/Meidas or enter our promo code Meidas to get 30% off your first order plus free shipping. Let's make a change for good this year and switch to Real Paper. Real is a paper for the planet.
So after Jack Smith brought the Garcia hearing motion, not just in D.C., but in the Southern District of Florida, so that a hearing could be held with respect to Waltine Nauta, as well as for Carlos de Oliveira, these two separate Garcia hearings, Judge Cannon responded by requesting that special counsel Jack Smith also brief the propriety of a Washington, D.C. grand jury, and why was a Washington, D.C. grand jury still being used. And as we reported here on the MeidasTouch Network, well, where did Judge Aileen Cannon even get that idea from? Well, it turns out that the night before she issued that order on Fox, one of Donald Trump's surrogates and former lawyers, Jim Trusty, made the argument that he believed, and he did this on the Mark Levin show, and that's how Mark Levin talks, that the D.C. grand jury was improper. So recently, special counsel Jack Smith issued a reply brief informing Judge Cannon of basically everything that I said. Judge Cannon, let me explain the reason why the grand jury in Washington, D.C. was utilized up until, I think, August 16th, August 15th or 16th, because one of the things we learned was that employee number 4, Yusel Taveras, was involved in the criminal conspiracy. There was a Garcia hearing that was held, and Yusel Taveras switched lawyers and then told us the truth. And because Yusel Taveras lied before the Washington, D.C. grand jury back in March of 2023, that grand jury still had jurisdiction over Yusel Taveras' lies. So that's why the proceedings took place in Washington, D.C. It's where Yusel Taveras lied, and we went back to the same grand jury, and here's the information that we learned. We learned that as soon as Yusel Taveras got rid of the Trump-appointed lawyer, Stan Woodward, he told the truth and implicated Waltine Nauta and Carlos de Oliveira and Donald Trump in the criminal scheme. So in response to that brief by Jack Smith, Walt T. Nauta's lawyer, Stan Woodward, again, who's being paid by Donald Trump's political action organization, filed a request for a surreply, which is basically a reply to the reply. And one of the things that Stan Woodward said is that this has tarnished my reputation, and it has harmed the reputation of Walt T. Nauta. It's harmed the reputation of Yusel Taveras. Why would it harm the reputation of Yusel Taveras? He's the one who admitted that he had lied, and he's no longer in legal peril. I mean, are you saying that you would have preferred to have Yusel Taveras as a co-defendant versus someone who's not being prosecuted and a cooperating witness? Also, Stan Woodward said that he's receiving threats as a result of Jack Smith's filing. I mean, Jack Smith was responding to Judge Aileen Cannon's request that Jack Smith brief the propriety of the grand jury in Washington, D.C. And what's so interesting is you have Judge Aileen Cannon. If you've been following these videos, you know I've been covering where she's been striking anytime Jack Smith has tried to file anything about what's going on in Washington, D.C. or otherwise under seal, she strikes it. In fact, in the order where she demanded that Jack Smith discuss the propriety of the grand jury in Washington, D.C., she also struck filings by Jack Smith when he tried to file things under seal. You're following this, right? So now Stan Woodward, Walt T. Nauta's lawyer, who's being paid by Trump's PAC, is now going after Jack Smith for responding to Judge Cannon's request that Jack Smith address the propriety of the DC grand jury, and saying that that was improper, that Jack Smith just briefed the propriety of the DC grand jury. Exactly what Judge Cannon asked Jack Smith to do, right? And now Judge Cannon, in this order, just so you see how all of this links together, she's like, sure, Defendant Nauta's lawyer, Stan Woodward, you can now file a reply to Jack Smith's reply on why you think it was improper for Jack Smith to respond to my request about the propriety of the Washington, D.C. grand jury, which Jack Smith explained it was because Stan Woodward, your client, changed his testimony after he had independent counsel. So Judge Cannon is all mixed up. She's lost in her own corrupt orders. That's why it's so bizarre and just so strange. But I want to make sure we're following what's going on here and how corrupt and just bizarre it is. But I think we're gearing up soon for an appeal, as soon as an appealable issue is ripe. And I'll let you know as soon as that happens. Check us out on MeidasTouch.com, the new home for all things MeidasTouch. We got 1.5 million subscribers. Now we're on our way to 2 million subscribers thanks to your support. Let's get to 2 million by 2024. Excited for that. Thank you so much. And hit subscribe on our YouTube channel and go to MeidasTouch.com.
Hey Midas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.